Hello, dear friends. I'm so glad you're here. Whether you're listening on a rainy afternoon, a peaceful morning, or just before bedtime, this story is for you young hearts and old souls alike. So, grab a warm drink, wrap yourself in a soft blanket, and let's take a calming walk through one of the coziest stories of all time, The Fisherman and His Wife. A tale of gentle wishes and learning, when enough is truly enough. Our story begins by a quiet sea, where the waves rolled in like whispers, and the breeze always smelled of salt and sunlight. Along the pebbled shore stood a tiny white cottage, snug as a teacup in your hands. The roof was made of straw, golden and soft, and little blue shutters framed the windows where sunlight liked to rest. Inside lived a fisherman named Tom, and his kind-hearted wife, Mina. Tom had eyes that crinkled when he smiled, and hands rough from casting his line every morning. Mina was gentle and warm, always humming as she stirred soup or tended her herb pots outside the cottage door. They lived simply, but they were happy. Each day, Tom went to the sea, and Mina kept the little house glowing with coziness, the scent of bread in the oven, a kettle singing on the stove, and wildflowers in a jar by the window. One calm morning, as golden clouds drifted low over the water, Tom sat on his favorite rock and cast his line like always. But today, he caught something quite special. The line tugged hard, and when he pulled it up, there in the sunlight shimmered a bright, golden fish. "Please let me go," said the fish, in a voice like bells underwater. "I am no ordinary fish. I am enchanted. If you set me free, I will grant you a wish." Tom blinked. He'd never heard a fish talk before, but his heart was kind. "I don't need anything," Tom said softly. "Go back home, little fish." The fish gave a grateful flip of its tail. "If you ever change your mind," it said, "just call." And then it disappeared into the sea with a sparkle. That evening, when Tom told Mina about the magical fish, she looked thoughtful. "You did the right thing," she said, placing a hand on his. "But maybe, just maybe, we could wish for a slightly better home? One with a chimney that doesn't smoke so much and a stove that keeps the bread from burning?" Tom chuckled. "Nothing too grand," he said. "Just a bit more comfort." And so, the next morning, he walked back down to the peaceful sea, the waves gently curling around his feet, ready to call upon the enchanted fish once more. As the sun rose, painting the sky with gentle strokes of pink and gold, Tom stood on the familiar rock. He looked out over the quiet water and softly called, little fish, from under the sea, my wife has a wish. Will you listen to me?" The sea shimmered, and up popped the golden fish, its eyes kind and calm. "What is her wish, dear fisherman?" Tom smiled shyly. "She wishes for a cozy cottage just a little bigger, one with a good stove and a sunny window for her herbs to grow." The fish made a little circle in the water. "It is done," it said. "Go home." And when Tom walked back up the path, he stopped in surprise. Their tiny cottage was no longer tiny. It was now a snug, cheerful home, with ivy along the walls and a chimney that puffed friendly curls of smoke. Inside, the stove was warm and steady, and in the kitchen, a wide window let the sunlight dance across rows of mint, basil, and thyme. Mina gasped when she saw it. "It's perfect," she cried, twirling with joy. "Oh, it smells like sunshine in here." They spent the day arranging books, hanging lace curtains, and baking a golden loaf of bread. Mina tucked fresh flowers into every room, and Tom carved little fish shapes into the edge of the window frame. The whole house felt like a warm hug. For many days, they lived happily in their new home. They shared tea in the mornings and watched the stars at night. The sea sang softly nearby, and Mina often said, "This is more than I ever dreamed." But after a time, Mina began to look out the window thoughtfully. One quiet evening she said, "Tom, what if we had a little land? Just a small farm, with a cow, some chickens, and a garden with room to grow enough for us and maybe share a little with our neighbors?" Tom paused. "Do you think it's all right to ask again?" "We wouldn't take more than we need," Mina said. "We'd give what we could." So Tom nodded gently. The next morning, he walked once more to the peaceful sea, his boots crunching softly on the path, ready to call the kind little fish again. The next morning, with clouds drifting low like cotton in the sky, Tom stood once again on the familiar rock by the sea. The wind was gentle, and the waves curled at his boots like sleepy kittens. He called out softly, little fish, from under the sea. My wife has a wish, will you listen to me?" The golden fish rose from the ripples, glowing faintly in the morning light. "What is her wish this time, kind fisherman?" Tom smiled sheepishly. "She dreams of a little farm, just a cow, a few chickens, and enough land to grow food. She wants to share with others, not just ourselves." The fish swirled in the water with a thoughtful pause. Then it nodded. "Go home," it said. "It is done." When Tom reached the hilltop, his breath caught in his throat. The cottage had grown, not grand or grandiose, but lovingly stretched with timber and stone. Behind the house, a small barn stood with red paint and white trim. A cow grazed lazily in a meadow of soft grass, and chickens pecked happily in the garden. A neat vegetable patch lined the edge of the house, where rows of beans, carrots, and cabbages stood proud in the soil. Mina came running to meet him, apron fluttering. "Tom, it's beautiful," she cried, her cheeks pink with joy. "It feels like it was always meant to be this way." They spent the days milking the cow, collecting warm eggs from the nesting boxes, and tending the garden side by side. Neighbors began to visit, some for a bit of milk, others for a handful of herbs, or just a kind word over a shared loaf of bread. Children giggled on the swing hanging from the old apple tree. Strangers left the little farm with a smile and full basket. The world felt full and gentle. But after a time, one evening as the stars blinked to life, Mina leaned her head on Tom's shoulder and said softly, "Do you think maybe we could ask one last time? What if we had a small inn, right by the sea? A place for travelers to rest. We could share stories, offer soup to the weary, and give warmth to anyone who needs it." Tom looked at her quietly for a long time. "It would be a lot," he said. "But not too much," Mina whispered. "Just enough to spread what we have to more people." Tom nodded. One last time, and as the moon rose over the waves, the old fisherman made his way down to the shore again.